Hi, my name is Kangyi. I made this video to help you in your composition process. Remember, these are just guidelines, they are not rules. So, different flutists have different preferences and different abilities. Always consult your flutist and write something for your flutist. I see key clicks on the flute as similar to pressing down the strings of the violin with your left hand. It is very quiet. So if there's no amplification, you need to write it in a solo situation or when other instruments in the chamber group are also doing key clicks. If you want a louder sound, you can consider tongue pizzicato, which I'll be talking about it in the later video. And downward key clicks are more effective. So A, G, F, E, D. Downward key clicks are more effective than upward key clicks. If you are doing an upward ascending scale, what the flutist does is he or she will use the left hand to make the sound. So if you want to write key clicks on ascending scale, you may want to consider using air sounds or tongue pizzicato. It could be louder and it could also make things easier for your flutist. I personally find that the loudest sounds can be achieved by hitting those open holes on the flute. So that's A, G, F, E, D. The other holes are actually activated by key mechanisms, as you can see. So I find it similar to, like, you know, you're playing tennis. If you only have this range of motion versus if you have a wider range of motion, there's more force. So I personally find that I can do louder sounds on these open holes than the activated mechanisms. And the other thing is your fingers are also stronger. Your index finger, your index finger, middle finger. And one thing you can tell the flutist is when you're writing the key clicks, instead of indicating that's the note to be hit, just say hit key that produces loudest indicated sounds, and that will leave it up to the flutist. So for example, if you're playing a low C, I find that this sound is not as loud as it's also a lot more effort on the pinky. And just a small note, similar to what violinists not liking composers who write collineal, bowing the violin with the stick of the bow and not allowing them to change the bow. Flutists also have their pet peeve. They don't like two huge sections of key clicks, because from day one we have been trained to play lightly on the keys. We have been trained to activate the keys with light force. So this is a very small point, but you know, if you don't want your flutist to hit you, and we don't like to change the pads get damaged if we keep pressing really hard. Flutter tongue is a very common technique that every composer uses, and I personally find it a lot easier to do high registers, middle registers compared to low register. And I personally know some flutists that they struggle with the lowest notes on the flute. So if you want flutists to love you, just write in the high registers or middle registers and we will love you. Yeah. So because Flutter tongue is a lot more challenging in the lower registers, here's something you can do if you want to have more of the air and tongue sound compared to the sound of the flute. do it in the lower registers, and we'll be really happy to do it. But take note that you should write it in a very quiet situation, because it's really very soft. So I can actually like go all out and do my Flutter Tongue and produce very little flute sound, and that's very helpful. That's very easy on the low registers. Tongue pizzicato beatboxing air sounds. There's a huge variety of possible sounds, and anything we can produce with our mouth, we can just do it into the flute, and basically you have infinite possibilities. There are two very good videos I recommend. Just check the description. It's Helen Bledsoe and Greg Pattillo. He's the master in beatboxing. So I would want to emphasize that they are soft. So in a chamber situation, it has to be either solo or other instruments like saxophone, clarinet. They are also doing their tongue pizzicato. That's very effective. You need to take note of the rate. Unlike double tonguing on the flute, which people can do it pretty fast, tongue pizzicato requires the tongue to be either coming off the lips or coming down from the palate. So there's a limit to how fast we can do that. Whereas for double tonguing, you can think of it like just the tongue agitating the airstream, not as much motion. But for tongue pizzicato, there's a lot more motion to involve, so there's a limit to how fast we can do it. Beatboxing. I highly recommend amplification if possible. That is very effective. If not possible, it has to be a solo environment. And definitely check out Greg Pattillo's videos. He has a huge range of possibilities that you can explore. White noise, or whatever you want to call it, whatever noise. It's basically blowing air into the flute. And you need to know that time is needed to switch between the playing position and the position to play the white noise. So give some time for your flutist. That is how fast I can do it. There's basically, for me personally, there are two different playing positions where you have a more focused air, and another one is where you open your embouchure a lot bigger. So when your embouchure is a lot bigger, the duration that the flutist can last will be a lot shorter, because I'm basically exhausting my air pretty fast. So you want to take note of the duration of your white noise. One trick you can do is to include inhaling, exhaling as part of your piece. If you are not so concerned about the sound, just have inhaling as part of the music. That will please your flutist a lot. So for the smaller embouchure, the sound goes something like that. You can also use the teeth to disturb the airstream and when I use a larger embouchure without using the teeth to narrow the airstream, of course I can't last as long. note that it has to be very quiet, so like a solo situation or when other instruments are also doing white noise. And the thing about duration is also true for saxophone, clarinets. I know that if you just want to blow the air through the instrument, it doesn't last very long. According to the great flutist Mattias Ziegler, which the link is below, you can check it out, the Aeolian sounds are from low B to middle register E or F. These are purely air sounds, but if you want to combine air and flute sound, then you can do the middle register, higher registers. So this is how it goes. Once again, it is a very quiet sound, so take note of that. It sort of repeats after the middle register. So if you want to do middle registers and higher registers, you can just mix the air sound and flute sound. As you can see, it's very challenging because flutists are trained to produce pure flute sound. So that's something that the flutists have to practice. A lot more challenging in the higher registers than the middle registers. Take note that the air sounds, Aeolian sounds, are very quiet, so you can do that when other instruments are doing air sounds or it's in a solo situation. When writing for tongue ramp, take note that there's a limit to how fast we can go, so it's not going to be as fast as double tonguing on the flute. And it's a full agitation of the tongue, and we have to strike it really hard to be really loud. In general, it is quite loud, and it is extremely effective if the chamber is long, so it's very good for bass flute, alto flute. When you are writing for jet whistle, take note that it is very exhausting for the flutist. It's like a full gust of all the air in our body, and you want to take note of how many jet whistle you're writing, and we need time to recover. It's not so fast, so you don't write too rapid jet whistle. And otherwise, if you write fast jet whistles or 20 jet whistles, your flutist is going to be lying on the floor on stage. Time is also needed to switch between doing the normal flute playing position and doing tongue ramp and jet whistle. So for jet whistle, wouldn't recommend writing too many again. Very exhausting. It is pretty loud. You can do jet whistle when chamber group is doing their thing. There are two ways to do glissando, using the lips or using the fingered glissando. So the lip glissando, you're basically moving inwards, outwards on the flute. And composers, if you want to go into, I've seen scores where composers indicate with a line, inward, outward. That is, if you're doing sustained notes and you care a lot about the rate of turning inwards, outwards. And finger glissando is basically sliding the fingers down the open holes of the flute. You need to know that while lip glissando is possible across all notes, high register, middle register, and low registers, finger glissando is not very convenient in the high registers, and I would avoid it unless you find certain notes that transition well, because in the high registers the fingerings for the flute get a lot more complicated. But in the middle registers, it's just going down and covering more keys. It's very more logical. If you want to do ascending scale, descending scale, it's possible for all the notes in the middle lower register for lip glissando. So you would start from C sharp, slowly going down the scale. The break for the flute happens at D to C sharp, so you would start at C sharp. And so on. Usually you can use a combination of both the lip glissando and the finger glissando for the best effect. If you purely want to do finger glissando, and you want to do purely finger glissando because you want a fast music or like pretty fast music, and lip glissando just doesn't work. One good one would be B. It's very restricted. B, A, G, and you can go from G, F sharp, F, G, F sharp, F, E, D, and then there's a break here because the, E flat, because the E flat to D, there's this is a break. So once again, it's and the octave. Some flutists would do, for very perfect gliss, you can do a semitone, quarter tone, finger glissando. With the help of lip glissando, you can do a very smooth ascending, descending line. Just make sure you put it as slow music. Your flutist will like you for that.